Annyeong, it's Mikey here, and welcome back to Mikey Techs. Today we got a really interesting keyboard because this is from QK. So we have to thank QK, of course, for sending out this board for me to try. This is going to be the QK100 Mark II. Now it's a pre-built keyboard, so that's why it's going to be on this channel, Mikey Techs, to be able to do a review and see what this is like, and of course to see how good this is. Now, this is going to be the last day of the giveaway, so make sure to comment on this video, watch this video, of course, press like, and go check out the other videos to leave comments because the winner will be announced for the current giveaway tomorrow. So keep in mind this, and of course, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get straight into the unboxing. Now, introducing the QK100 Mark II. Thank you again, Qwertykeys, for sending me out this board. So we're going to have to open it up and see what's inside of this box. Now, Qwertykeys is well known in general for Neo and Qwertykeys boards where they're usually more on the budget or affordable side, either in the custom realm, and they started to jump into the pre-built world. So they used to have an extra brand that they worked with, which was TickType. Now they're doing their own things. So we had the Neo 98 before, which I did the custom build for and review, and then they actually did a pre-built version. Now they did a QK100 Mark II and a QK65 Mark III, which that one was also a custom, but they also had a pre-built version, and now we're looking at a full size. So what can I say about the box itself? So the packaging wise, they do a great job. In just general, it's a very nice packaging, very clean. You're not looking at something, I'd say, like crazy premium feeling like some other packaging that I've seen before, but it does do well. So it's not a budget cheap packaging, but it's very nicely done. You get the extra accessories, so you get the USB dongle, you get an adapter, you also get extra switches, which is awesome. I love seeing when brands provide extra switches, because honestly speaking, guys, this is something that should be mandatory. You also get a nice braided cable, so that's something else to appreciate as well. Their cable quality is actually pretty decent. It's not going to be something that's very cheap, and I think that is a nice touch as well. You also get a keycap puller, switch puller. I'm a little bit surprised they provided more of a basic one. They actually have a different one that they provided before, which I think would have been nice in general. Their multi-tool kit would have been really cool to see inside this as well, just because overall, I think with consideration of what they do, it would have just been nice to have things being done. Now let's take a look at the actual board. So this is a full-size keyboard. Well, a 98% keyboard technically speaking, because it is missing some of the middle keys that you'd have in an actual full size. And overall, the quality of the board is actually not too bad. In the hand overall and the overall quality of the feeling, I did get the black version. So the black version, as you'll see here very soon, it's going to be actually a spray coated version. So it's not actually anodized, say like other ones that I've seen that QK does, but it is a spray coating. Fan of spray coat keyboards. So I'm just going to be honest with you guys, I'm not a big fan of them, but this one was actually not bad. The spray coating wasn't actually like feeling like it was painted on, but it actually does feel like very close to anodization, but just not as smooth and very, very nice in terms of the feel. And overall, the board does weigh 1.6 kgs, but let's go into a sound test. So let's do a teardown to see exactly what's inside. Now, first things we got to check out to see, is it a flex cup plate or not? So Qwertykeys is very well known to make nice custom keyboards that are very budget and very affordable and very nice sounding. I'm curious if this one's going to be very similar in that aspect because this is a pre-built and not a custom. Now, as you can see here, I had to remove 8 screws, so 8 total screws. There's going to be a cable that connects between the actual PCB and the top case as well, because that's where the screen is going to be. So it's a very nice LCD screen that's going to be on there, which we'll take a look later. And you just have to carefully remove the cable to open it up. Now, underneath, there's going to be also 2 cables that connects to the PCB. There's going to be 2 sides to it. One's going to be the actual switches. So it has the switches for the Bluetooth and USB dongle section, and then you have the section for the battery and the USB port. I'm not really a big fan of that part, honestly speaking. The fact that it has to be 2 separate areas is not so great. And honestly, I do wish that the middle piece was a little bit thicker. It does have 8,000 milliamp hour battery. And overall, I think just the aspect of the switches to be on the top right, kind of like the DP104, and then having all these different ribbon cables is just a little bit too much. I'm not a big fan of too much ribbon cables because it's just prone to breaking if you have too many things going on. One of the things I also noticed is that they do have screw-in stabilizers sections available. So the PCB is actually able to do screw-in stabilizers. Now you have to keep in mind, you're going to have to get a 1.2 millimeter stabilizer for this if you do want to use it as screw-ins. And the plate mounted stabilizer, it's actually not bad. So in terms of the stock looping on them, they're not actually horribly done. I didn't really find a lot of ticking, but there was a little bit of a mushy feel in some of the stabilizers. So you might have to actually touch it up a little bit. And if you really want to, you can change to just the regular screw-ins. Now, in terms of measuring the plate and the PCB, so they're both supposed to be 1.2 millimeters. So the PCB and the plate will be 1.2 millimeters. I'm honestly a little bit disappointed in that aspect. I was hoping that it would have been 1.6 in each side, and that's just because I feel like 1.2 just sounds too thin. I do understand the aspect of making the typing feel softer by having a little bit more flex and bounce, but in my personal perspective, I think it just would have been better. Now, I'm going to give you guys a tape modded sound test as well with 2 layers of tape mod. Keep in mind that you have to be careful with this because it could void your warranty. So please keep in mind this. Also, this is going to be a gasket mounted keyboard, so that's also going to be a nice thing in terms of the sound. For an aluminum full-size keyboard, this is incredibly light. Keep in mind, it's not going to be as light as a plastic board, of course, but when I consider it a full aluminum keyboard, this feels very light to me. Now, personal preference is that I would have loved to see a little bit heavier, but that is personal preference, right? That's not going to be the case for what this is meant to be. Now, what I think overall is that they built this keyboard specifically for people who are looking for a pre-built, easy to use gaming available. Like, you can game with this board, of course, and use it for school, use it for other things in a simple go manner. So like, you have it on your desk and this is your main board for pretty much everything. Now, what I did find interesting as we did the teardown and looked inside is that you do have the screw-in stabs available. So meaning you can actually use screw-in on this. I'm really curious if this can actually do a foamless build. Now, this isn't meant for the enthusiasts out there or people that are really looking for something custom. This is more for, I would say, someone who just wants a easy to use grab and go board. Like, it's on your desk and it's just plug and play. That's the type of board this is going to be, and this is for those people out there, especially if you are someone who likes thok. This thing is a thocky keyboard, and if you really like a deep tone, you're going to enjoy this one. Now, I've tried the tick type stuff before, like the Evo 75. I've also tried the DP104, and the DP104 was my favorite full size with like how it sounded, and I felt it was a really nice board, honestly. This one is going to be close to the DP104 in terms of that. It's not like too mushy in terms of how it sounds and feels. Like the Evo 75 honestly was a little bit mushy. This one doesn't have that kind of mush to it, which is nice. I do like how they have their oat switches in here. It is a very nice board to really try out this one. And overall, yeah, I'm really curious. We're going to have to really try this out. We're going to try foamless and really see what we can get out of this. So we'll try modifying, making it foamless, and all these things just to see, is this really going to be a board that enthusiasts that really want just something more affordable, like budget and full size, just use on their desk, can use this as well. So let's go right into that. So one thing that I wanted to after the sound test was remove all the foams entirely. Now I do feel like plate mount stabilizers is not great for this because I feel like it's going to actually cause issues where the plate is going to bottom out too much, and that's why I'm going to change it to screw-in stabilizer, hopefully giving it a little bit more support in terms of the plate and see how it sounds. But honestly, I'm not really expecting much because this is such a thin PCB end plate. I really do feel like it's not going to be the nicest sound. So first things off, the RGB and lighting on this board is actually quite nice and bright. It is very bright to actually see in person, and you can really see the changes here. So they made this board specifically so that you can really go without a software at all. The button on the top left is going to be to change the lighting. You do have this nice LCD screen that you can also change up in terms of what you want to see. It gives you the battery life, tells you if you're Mac or Windows, if it's USB or it's going to be Bluetooth. Those are the little settings that you can actually see on the screen itself, and it's a very nice quality screen. It's one of the best screens that I've seen in a while. Now you get some cute stuff. You also get a little game here, and this is going to be a little bit for those that are working. So if you want to be at work in the office and pretend that you're working, you can actually play this game, and people will actually think that you're actually doing something. So this is just a little bit of a trick that you could use. Now in terms of this, you have also this volume toucher on the top right, and you also has the lighting there that actually actuates and reacts to sound that's going on beside it. So that's also found quite interesting. Now in terms of this light bar, I do feel like it's not the best placement and just a little bit too thin, because if you are typing and you're putting your fingers over there, it's a little bit hard to reach. Now I do feel like they could use better layouts. It's too much flex cuts all over, and I think it would have been nice to see if it had 7U and more in terms of the board. Now, I do feel like the Qwertykeys logo on the back is very unnecessary. I think it could have been something else in terms of design-wise, and it would have been nice to have a better weight overall. Just a little bit heavier. The spray coating is actually quite nice though, with the little bit of sprinkles there, and I feel like the stabilizers really could have been better for just using screw-ins instead of the plate mount. I think just would have been nicer, but plate mount does have its benefits and it's easy to take out. Now, as you can see that the price was $219 and it has 4 different colorways. The $219 is going to be the normal pricing, but there will be a 10% discount that's available once you get the board. Now, if you notice with the sound tests, the board didn't sound super thocky right away. Like, it's not a super thocky board, even though it's foamed. And that's because it's using ABS keycaps, which I found it very interesting. Now, the dual screen design is quite interesting as well. You get the little cool, like the red part lighting and that's on the bottom. This board just has so much going on with it. And the volume touch bar, as you can see there, it is a little bit thin, so it's a little bit hard to work. I really do feel like it would have been nice if it wasn't so like only 10 increments, but it was actually more increments of sound. It actually works a lot better on Mac, by the way, for the actual volume touch, so keep in mind that. Now, as I was saying, the sound-wise wasn't super deep, even though it's a foam board, because it has ABS keycaps on there. So that's something that I felt was interesting. For a keyboard that's supposed to be a deep-sounding, thocky-sounding board, I would have thought that they would have went double shot PBT, and I'm surprised they didn't. Now, in terms of the battery capacity, it does have a long battery life. So I've actually used the board for about 2 weeks, and I've completely kept it wireless, didn't charge it or anything, and it worked really well for that. So it lasted a long time in terms of the battery, and I still didn't run out. I still would have loved to have seen a little bit more things happening with this board, especially at the $200 price range, especially considering like what they've done in the past, right? Like, I've seen what Neo and Qwertykeys is able to do. It would have just been nice to consider this a little bit more of a more advanced keyboard with like possibilities of doing foamless and all these things, because of people joining and buying Neo stuff as a entry to custom keyboards. And as you can see here, it's only 1000 hertz. I would have expected 8000 because of something they've done in the past, but 1000 is still enough to play games with. Like, this still could be your daily everything keyboard. Now, you also get options to play around with the screen, which is really cool. So this is their software. Now, do you need the software to run this board? Not really, right? As I said, that there's everything available on the keyboard, which is quite nice. Honestly, the fact that you don't have to touch anything, and because the layouts are pretty set, you don't really have to move and change different layouts in terms of this board. It's very simple to just use without the software. But it is nice the fact that you can easily upgrade the screen and add different themes to it, and they're going to even add more themes that's going to be available in the software. Now, what do I think of this board as a whole in terms of the quality? So the quality of the board, I'm going to be honest with you guys, it doesn't feel as high like the DP104. Like, it feels a little bit lacking comparatively to that. But if you are someone who's looking for an basic full-size keyboard that will work for work purposes, gaming on your desk, carrying it around because it's not too heavy, this could be something to look at. And if you are wanting to maybe enter into the custom world, Neo and Qwertykeys is the brand you probably want to see. They have really good stuff. I do appreciate that they tried with this board, even with like adding the snap tap, but I think I would have loved to see a little bit more upgrades to the board itself. So QK is going to be having their back to school sale. So this one's going to be releasing with a 10% discount, which is quite nice to see. Like right away off the bat, you're getting a small discount on this board. You can go check it out in the links in the description, right? I'll have the links in the description for you guys to go check out. I honestly don't mind this board. Like, yes, I've gotten so used to building customs and stuff, but like I said, I really liked the DP104. That was something that I really, really did enjoy. I ended up actually giving it to a friend of mine. This is also a board that I could enjoy using. Like for work purposes, this is something that I could definitely use at home for work when I'm working at home from like, purposes of using the numpad and just having something that's wireless that's easy to use. This thing is not too bad in that aspect. Is it super cheap? Not really, but you got to consider that it is a full aluminum board with a lot of specs to it, and probably one of the best screens that I've actually seen. It's a really nice quality, and I actually really enjoyed looking at it. So go check it out for yourselves. Hope someone won a really great giveaway from my channel, and we're going to do another one. So make sure to join the Discord link in the description below. Good luck to everyone out there, and go enjoy the other videos I got, and I'll have to catch you guys next time.